Hey guys, Ducky here and welcome to the video, and today I have a super cool invention for you guys. This is probably the best creation I will ever make, pretty much the epitome of my entire redstoning career, because what I've actually created for you guys today is a fully automatic cake farm for vanilla survival Minecraft. And it's just really cool, to be honest. So let's kind of get into the details of how this farms some cakes. So I'm sure by now some of you guys are quite confused as to how we're actually farming cakes, because obviously there's no cake plant in Minecraft or mobs that drop cake. So basically, the way we're farming this is that, in case you don't know, the four ingredients of crafting a cake is wheat, sugar, eggs and milk, and all four of those items are farmable in survival Minecraft, and these are all built into this farm in separate different segments of the farm, which I'm going to show you guys now. So the first ingredient we have are the eggs. So as you can see here, we have a chicken that's sitting inside a hopper. It's actually trapped in by the half slab above it, and that is going to lay as an egg roughly every 7.5 minutes. Now every time this lays an egg is roughly about how much every time you'll get the ingredients for a cake. So this farm actually creates a cake roughly every 7.5 minutes. So the next ingredient we have after the eggs is the sugar. So obviously we're farming the sugar by farming sugar cane, and we actually have 3 little sets of 3 sugar cane, which will be harvested by the pistons above, and those will be set off every time an egg is laid. This will produce roughly 2 sugar every 6 minutes, so that's roughly fitting with the 7.5 minutes per egg. Okay guys, so here at the back of the farm we have probably the most complicated part of this system, which is actually the wheat. So in case you don't know, wheat takes a lot longer to grow than the other resources in this farm. So instead of having a large wheat field at the back, what we have is wheat that's actually grown and harvested on demand every time an egg is laid. So those 3 dispensers at the bottom will fire out bone meal, which will obviously grow the wheat up to full, and that top left one that's kind of behind the villager at the moment, that will dispense water and then pick the water back up again, which will crush the wheat. That will then be picked up by the hopper system beneath it, and this villager here will replant the seeds. And finally, here at the front we have the milk. Now the milk is technically an optional addition to the farm, and this isn't actually fully automatic. As there's no fully automatic way to farm milk, you do actually need to hold down right click for this. But in case you don't know, you can get infinite milk from one cow, so this doesn't really need to be included in the farm, as milk is pretty much an infinite resource. Alright guys, so on screen now you'll see a clip of the farm activating. You can hopefully see the sugar getting crushed, the wheat getting harvested, and you might see the comparator fire from the egg. And basically that is what will happen when it farms. It's a little loud because, as you can see, the pistons kind of spam, but it all works well, so it's okay. So guys, one of the big features of this farm that you can see in the title is that this farm is very balanced. Now what that basically means, if you don't know, is that this farm will produce roughly the right ratio of wheat, sugar and eggs per cake. So it will actually produce the right amount for you to craft a cake, rather than just producing way too much wheat or way too little sugar or something like that. It is actually all balanced, and as you can see over here, just in the time that this has been running, we've actually got enough resources in that chest for 40 cakes. So this is 40 cakes here. It's a 8x5 kind of grid, and this is what you would have got in the time that it's been here for, and it honestly hasn't been here for that long, so this is actually a really effective farm for survival. Alright guys, so as this is obviously a survival friendly redstone machine, I am going to be doing a tutorial of how to build this. But I am going to warn you before we start this, it's not cheap. This probably isn't the kind of farm you'll want to create at the start of a survival world, but it's more the kind of farm that you'd want to create when you've got a base, you've got all your stuff set up, and you want some cakes. So yeah, let's get on with that tutorial. Alright guys, so this tutorial is going to be done similarly to the armor shop tutorial, where we're going to do it in steps. You can see the steps laid out over there, and there's going to be a cut between each step where you guys will be able to pause and hopefully catch up with what happened in the last cut. So let's get on with the tutorial. Basically, this machine is a 6x8x5 area. That's with the casing, so you can see over here it has the glass casing around it. But without the casing, it's actually only 6x7x3. So obviously, it's 6x7x3 if you're going to build it underground, and it will be surrounded by blocks already. But bear in mind, you will need a light source for the wheat if you are building it underground. But what you'll actually need for this this invention is in this chest here. And as I said earlier, it's really not cheap. So let's run through the resources that you will need. So what you are going to need, guys, is 2 redstone blocks, 11 hoppers, 3 minecart hoppers, 9 powered rails, 3 chests. These are regular. They can be trapped chests, but they don't need to be, so there's not much point. 9 dirt, 4 dispensers, 6 regular pistons, 2 buckets of water, or just an infinite water source and a single empty bucket. You'll need 1 slab of any kind. I'm using quartz, but this can be anything. You'll need a chicken. Now, obviously, I'm using a spawn egg for this, but if you're doing this in survival, you'll need either some way of luring a chicken in, or you'll need some eggs, and I'll explain how to do this with eggs later on. You'll then need 4 redstone dust, 1 comparator, repeater, and torch. You need 1 of each of those. You'll then need some bone meal. Now, I've only got 1 stack here, but what you're actually going to need is about 27 stacks, so that's 3 droppers full, and sorry, dispensers full. And I know that sounds like a lot, but it isn't actually that much when you get down to it. It's 9 stacks of bones, so if you've got a farm, that should be easy. And you don't actually need that much. You can start off with less bone meal in the droppers, but you are going to have to go in and refill it later on if you don't put much in there at the start. You're then going to need 7 stacks of seeds. I know this sounds like a lot, but I'll explain why that is later on when we're doing the tutorial. And you'll need 1 stack of wheat as well. You'll then obviously need the 6 sugarcane to plant down, and you'll need a villager. So I have a spawn egg, but obviously you won't have a spawn egg in survival. So you need some way of getting a villager into your farm, and this will need to be a farmer. So it could be any of the professions that have just the brown robe. You can't have anything on the top like a priest or an armor smith or anything like that. For the cow extension to this, you're also going to need 1 hopper and some way of getting a cow. But as I said earlier, this is not actually mandatory part of the farm. And then you'll also need a hoe of any kind. I've just got a wooden hoe. You'll need some building blocks, obviously, and then some casing blocks, which can be glass if you want, or you can just have them the same as your building block, or if you're building them underground, you won't need that. Alright guys, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put your output chest here. Now obviously I said 3 chests earlier because we're making it a double chest, but if you really need to fit it into the area, you can just have 1 chest. We're going to put the 2 in. You're then going to put a hopper going into the side of that, a hopper coming out of it, and then 2 hoppers coming this way, curling around into it, and you're then going to put 4 hoppers onto the back of this. You're then going to put 2 blocks here, 2 blocks here, and you're going to put a block on top of here and a block across here. You're then going to put little stoppers on the end of here because this is where the rails are going to go, and once again on the end of here. We're then going to have the sections to put our rails in, and that is the end of the first step. Okay guys, for step 2, what we're going to do is lay our rails, our 9 rails in the sets of 3 like this. We're then going to put a redstone block here and here, which is going to power all those rails, and we're going to place our minecart hoppers down on these tracks. If you place them on the end blocks, they'll start themselves off and they'll be going back and forth like this. And I've actually got the sounds for these and for the friendly creatures turned off, so you guys won't get spammed during this tutorial. Thought I'd mention that early on here, and that's actually it for step 2. Okay guys, for step 3, what we're going to do is we're going to come 2 blocks along here so that we have this kind of straight row here. We're then going to put, blocks here and here, and we're going to put our 3 dirt along here, 3 dirt along here, and then 3 dirt along, 3 dirt along here above your minecart hoppers. You're then going to put 1 more block on the end of here, and your water bucket anywhere in this kind of row of 4 here. As long as it stretches across the whole row of 4, it doesn't massively matter where. Then across the end of here, you're going to do your 4 dispensers in an L shape like this. And over here, you're going to come up by 2 blocks, so you've got enough space to walk under these pistons. And you're going to place your 6 regular pistons facing downwards to crush your sugarcane. So the next step we're going to do is quite simple. We're going to come here and we're going to put a hopper on top of here, break this block and put a hopper here, chest on top of that and another hopper. We're then going to put our quartz slab like this and our chicken inside the hopper. Now if you aren't going to lure a adult chicken in here, then the easiest way to do this is by doing it with eggs. But of course a baby chicken will be able to get out of this gap. So to do it with eggs, you're going to want to put 2 blocks on either side and on the back, and then you're going to want to throw your eggs in here till you get a baby chicken and really quickly place a block on here. Then when you wait for him to grow up, you can take out these 4 blocks because he'll be an adult and he'll be trapped in like so. But if you do have a spawn egg, you can just do it like I did it. Alright guys, so what we're now going to do is put in the bulk of the redstone. On the block behind this chest, we're going to come out by 1 block, up diagonally by 1 block, and on the back of this block, we're going to place our redstone torch. We're then going to place a piece of redstone dust on top of this this dispenser, a comparator coming out of the hopper into this, and then we're going to put on top of this torch, we're going to put a block and a redstone dust there. Now this is going to create a burn out torch clock, and when we update this using the comparator, it's going to set it off and farm all of our objects. Then what we're going to do for the dispensers is we're going to have a little kind of L shape like this, where it comes up one block here. We're then going to put a block on top of this redstone dust here. Redstone, that was going to set off the thing again. You're going to then put your repeater here on 4 ticks and redstone here. And that is the main bulk of the redstone, and then we're going to get on to the next step now. So for the next step, what we're going to be doing is loading our dispensers. So what we're going to do is put these dispensers down here filled with bone meal. You'll need all 3 of these filled. As I said, these don't have to be filled, but if you put less in, then you're going to have to refill it quicker. You're then going to come into this one and put a water bucket in here, and then you're going to put your 6 sugarcane along the sides here. And you want to try not to update this because it's going to spill water everywhere if you do, but it shouldn't do too much damage if it does do that. And also we're going to stop that in the next step. So for the next step, what we're going to do is put in a bunch of the casing. Now you might not need to do this if you are building this underground, but you will if you're overground or you're in a big space where there's no blocks around it to stop it. So the first thing we're going to do is put a little bit around here to contain the water, and 2 blocks above to contain our villager later. We will fill this to 2 high in a minute, but not before we've got a villager in. And then we're going to go a 2 high casing all around this sugarcane. But before we actually fill the whole thing in, what we want to do is block these blocks up too. You're then going to get pulled up by the piston glitch, but just ignore that because that's going to stop any drops from going into the water and getting lost. We're then going to do the rest of our 2 high casing around here and a block here. This doesn't have to be glass, as I mentioned earlier, but I think it looks quite nice with glass, so we are doing it with that for the tutorial. And then the final thing we're going to do before we set up our villager, which is what we'll do in the next step, is just hoe these 3 pieces of dirt here. Okay guys, so for the final step in this system, we're going to need to get our villager in here. I did this between cuts because I didn't want you guys to have to sit and wait for me to get a farmer. But as I said, this will need to be one of the ones with a regular robe. It doesn't matter what it says up here, as long as it's got this regular brown robe and nothing on top. What we're then going to do to this villager is take our 7 stacks of seeds, and you don't want to drop them on this dirt because they'll just get picked up by the hopper. But on this glass block here, you're going to want to drop out a stack of seeds, and if he picks them up, then you're ready to do the rest. So you're then going to drop out your other 6 stacks of seeds, and you're going to want to make sure he picks all of them up. As you saw, I picked up a stack again there by accident, so just make sure to throw that back out to him and him pick them up. He may start planting seeds at this point, but what you're going to need to do is throw this stack of wheat down, and he's then going to pick up that stack of wheat, and that basically means that he registers the fact that he has food, so he's not going to break these crops when we don't want him to and pick up the food. Alright guys, so the only little thing we need to do now is fill in this glass, and this is technically the whole mandatory part of the farm done. As I said earlier, you might want to add this cow section, and to do that you just do a hopper facing into here. Sorry, let me grab a glass. You're then going to put some blocks around this. Again, this doesn't have to be glass, it just looks much nicer with glass. And somehow get your cow in here. All you'll need to do when it's set up like this is grab a bunch of buckets, fill up your inventory. Hold on, let me fill this up. And then you're just going to literally go into survival mode, obviously, and hold down right click, and it's going to throw your buckets into this hopper, which will then get fed into this chest. That's why we have the cow standing on this hopper. And we are now done our farm. So as I said, it's a really cool invention, but it isn't cheap and it isn't easy to build. Okay guys, so I do hope you enjoyed that invention video. I've really enjoyed working on this invention, even if it did take a lot of research to try and get the farm balanced. But I'm really pleased with what I've come out with, and I hope you guys are pleased with it too. So I just want to mention before I end this video that this is actually the first video I've been using the Faithful texture pack, and it looks absolutely beautiful. I can't believe I haven't been using this in the past, but I'm probably going to keep using this throughout the rest of my videos. But I'd like you guys to leave comments below to say whether you do or don't like it, because obviously if you guys don't like it, I'll stop, and if you do, I'll make sure to keep going with the Faithful texture pack. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please do like, comment, and hit that subscribe button if you did enjoy. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.